After my long-winded architecture podcast, I vowed that this lecture would be short-winded, and here I'm starting off with a long quote. But the interface between people and technology, especially video technology, is an even more important topic in the new AP curriculum. So Korean-American artist Jun Paik is considered the founder of video art. We saw this image earlier, an inscrutable Buddha surrounded by artifacts of our civilization, discarded television sets. Paik, along with our polka dot artist, Yayoi Kusama, was a member of a neo-Dadaist movement called Flexis. Their specialty was performance art, or happenings, which were often accompanied by very modern music by composers such as John Cage, who drew his inspiration from basic everyday noise. The first 10 seconds or so of this video of a John Cage composition will give you some idea of what this was about. Note that the sound of water dropping into a pot is incorporated into the music. Cage has been very influential on composition in the late 20th and early 21st century. So you probably remember the Alice in Wonderland performance, complete with polka dots. Here is a performance art piece with Fluxus artist Yoko Ono, later John Lennon's wife, in which the audience was invited to cut off pieces of her clothing. So this is not a required work by Jun Paik, yet it is one of his most famous, and again, 10 seconds will give you an idea. So what do you think the message of this piece might be? And here's our required work, which is installed in the Smithsonian American Art Museum in Washington, D.C. Now, I am not going to repeat the information on the excellent Smithsonian video that we assigned as homework. It was only 3 minutes long. If you skipped it, I would encourage you to rethink that decision. Instead, I want to ask a basic thought question. What is ironic about the way that every state is represented by its own individualized video image? I'll give you a hint. Think about the name of the work, which is a term that the artist coined. Well, the videos emphasize characteristics that are special or unique to that state. We just talked about this in postmodernism, harking back to what makes a place special, its history. Yet the existence of a TV electronic superhighway, and really even more now, an internet electronic superhighway, both unites and homogenizes American culture, mixes it all together into a single blend, if you will. TV is often cited as the reason that regional accents and dialects have lost some of their strength. Jun Paik is a pioneer in videography. So what makes this technology especially suitable for performance art and for installations? And how did the artist use this technology with his work? Well, to quote your Khan Academy essay, video cameras allow artists to create moving images more quickly than recording on film, which requires time for the negatives to be developed. And unlike film, video can be edited in real time using devices that alter the video electronic signal. So again, you have this immediacy of communication, and you also have a participatory element. We're all movie stars in this age of taking videos on our phones. With this work, the artist placed a video camera in the installation so that one of the American events, if you will, portrayed to the viewer is the viewer, him or herself, observing the scene by visiting the museum. So it's a little like the Buddha watching himself watching TV, right? Maybe it's a little like what other work that we just saw. Well, think about Narcissus Gardens and the way the viewer is encouraged to stare at himself in the ball, and think about what that might mean. So, what 3 things do you want to remember about this work? And to return to the former AP essay question, what point is the artist making about the relationship between technology and how people experience the world? Okay, this is a work that is really hard to study in the classroom since the effect is dependent on the setting and a time frame that we simply can't replicate. This is a 2-screen installation that takes up an entire large darkened room in a museum. By the way, any museum. This is not a site-specific work. The recordings are played back at a dramatically slowed speed. I don't know if you've had time to rewatch these videos, if you'll have time to rewatch these video clips in class. We did assign them as homework, but you may recall that on your homework sheet, I encouraged you to speed up the videos in the interest of getting on with the assignment. And that request completely undermines the artist's intent. And why do I say that? Well, the artist is interested in spiritual experiences, and he's a practitioner of Zen Buddhism, which you may recall is all about sitting for hours contemplating a serene, perfectly composed dry garden with carefully raked pebbles and just a few strategically placed objects or plants. Somewhat ironically, he filmed the two works with a high-speed film that lets him capture 300 frames a minute, but really the purpose of that was simply to enable him to slow the film down even more on playback and to show more details, more frames. So what religious symbolism do you see in this piece? What might be the meaning of water and fire? By the way, both of these are very significant in our own Christian Catholic tradition. By using a double frame, what medieval art technique is he imitating? Note that we've already seen one diptych, and I think in Maryland, the Maryland diptych, there are very definite callbacks to medieval iconography, and soon we'll see a triptych as well. So what do you think the title The Crossing means anyway? Who's crossing and to where? Are we seeing a person annihilating himself? Are we seeing a person being reborn? Both? I'm not going to answer those questions. It's pretty clear to me that the artist wants each viewer to grapple with this work in a very individual, meditative, spiritual way. So share your own reactions. I just wish I could be there to hear them.